whatever we have at the moment, I'll allow the Deputy Governor, Nairobi, Mr. Weke, to give you just a brief on what you have at now. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you. As you can see, members of the press, that we have a building that collapsed here in Makongeni about 3 a.m. last night. It was a 5-story building. Rescue operations are ongoing. We have all the agencies on site, so we are very well organized. The military are the ones who are helping us out together with the county to do the excavation, running the search and rescue operation. We have a very able incident commander here, Mr. Masai, who's controlling the site. The GSU and the police are keeping the site organized by controlling the crowds, and we have the equipment that's needed to be able to find anybody who may have been trapped in this building so that we can get them out safely. So far, 7 people have been rescued. We're still continuing with the operation. It's a little slow because the building was of very poor quality, so we have to be very careful as we are lifting up the concrete. And that's why you are seeing that the officers who are doing this search and rescue mission are working very, very carefully. So we just ask Nairobians to keep calm. The entire leadership is here and we're in control of the situation. We're also here with Honorable Peter Mwatok, who's the local Makongeni Kaloleni MCA, and we are assuring the people of this area that government, both county and national, are doing what they can to ensure that we save our citizens who've been caught in this disaster. So that's all for now, members of the press. We appreciate also your being calm and keeping the entire city calm as we continue to rescue our people. Asanteni sana.
I don't know whether you have any quick, brief questions. Yes.
Hapana, tujalala katika kazi letu. Unajua tunakuanga na timu inaendanga kila mahali Nairobi ya enforcement kuangalia hizi manyumba ambayo kwanza hazijapata development control approval, hiyo permit ya kujengwa, na ingine zile watu wameingia ndani na hawajakuwa na occupation certificate. Sasa hii tunatafuta mwenye hii nyumba ndio atuambie ni kwa nini alienda bila hizo permits.
Just saw your team coming without the rescue team. Does it mean the county government?
Without the what, sorry?
Yeah.
Without the what?
Yeah, I'm asking.
Yes, you saw.
Does it mean the county government does not have a disaster prepared machines to take care of such?
Yes, we do. You can see we have our excavator there. But when you're doing disaster management, you need different equipment for different tasks. And the time for the excavator is not here yet. If we begin to use the excavator right now, we will sink the concrete further, and that might injure some people who may be trapped inside, who are otherwise not injured and can be rescued. So we have a very competent team on site that are doing through this process step by step based on their competencies and their training.
Mheshimiwa, are you confirming that this particular building was not approved by the county government?
We are looking at it right now. We have our development control people here on site, and we are going through our records to find out if the building was approved or not. So that's information we'll be able to give you a little later.
Thank you very much.
Okay, asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll give you another brief in just a few minutes.
As we're speaking to the Nairobi County Deputy Governor and just giving some updates on what has been happening here. We are coming to you live from Makongeni, just next to the Makongeni police station, where a disaster struck this morning at 3 a.m. this morning, where, as you can see behind me, this 5-story building here just collapsed. It was around 3 a.m. this morning, and rescue operations still ongoing. A lot of agencies here on the ground. The National Disaster Operations Center, even the Kenya Defense Forces has assisted with some of the equipment, the cranes that you're seeing behind me. The National Youth Service is here, of course, working hand in hand with the county government, and of course the the Kenya Red Cross and the St. John's ambulance are already here trying to carry out those rescue operations, which started around 5 in the morning. And from what we've just heard, the latest brief, not new information yet coming through from here in Makongeni, but there's still 7 people were rescued this morning earlier. 4 of them have been taken to the Kenyatta National Hospital for treatment. The rescue operation, the rescue mission is ongoing, but it's kind of slow because they are saying they do not want to rush. They're not brought the excavators yet. As you can see behind me, it's another, seemingly it's another issue of poor workmanship ongoing here, as the building, as you can see, when the cranes were lifting those mortars, they're just falling off. Which means it's poor workmanship again, as has been the case in many times in buildings under construction collapsing around Nairobi. And we've just spoken to the Deputy Governor. We had spoken to a county engineer off camera earlier, and he did say that the buildings you can see on your shot, plus the one that has collapsed, were not approved by the county government. The Deputy Governor has not confirmed that, but they are saying that the county engineers are looking at that to ensure they know whether those particular buildings were approved or not. A lot of buildings around this particular one, and they do not look too good to the naked eye, to the layman. I'm not an engineer by myself, but that is what's happening. The building that has collapsed, you can see just right next to it, it's a swampy place, which means it's not very constructed very well. So we are still here. No more information concerning any casualties that were here, apart from the 7 people that were rescued earlier this morning, and 4 of them rushed to the Kenyatta National Hospital. And the work is ongoing. The National Disaster Operations Center have things in control. They're saying they'll be giving us information as soon as we get it. And of course, the Kenya Red Cross and John's Ambulance are here. The Nairobi Fire Brigade is here as well. And we are trying to get more information on that. It was a 5-story building. And from what we have gathered so far, a 6th story was under construction. The construction of a 6th story was underway when this happened. So another story of another building in Nairobi under construction collapsing. It has happened a lot in the city center in Kiambu. It's a story that has been ongoing. So we do not have any information of any people have not been confirmed dead yet, but we have those 7 casualties. That first update is still what we have. We're still trying to get more from the National Disaster Operations Center, who are currently undertaking this particular rescue operation together with the Nairobi County government. So far, as we had told you earlier, that is the latest information coming from Makongeni, here just next to the Makongeni police station. 7 people were rescued earlier in the morning. 4 of them were referred to the Kenyatta National Hospital, and the operation is still ongoing, and we can see that we are able to talk to some of the people. One of them who was working here, and they were saying that earlier in the day when the rescue operation was ongoing, they were able to talk. The rescuers were able to speak to some of the people. Some voices could still be heard. I do not know if that is still the case, but the rescue operation is still ongoing rather carefully. The Deputy Governor has said that they have not involved excavators yet, as that would, of course, they are fearing the quality of the work done here. The mortar, it doesn't seem to have been mixed very well, and it's rather loose, so they do not want to risk injuring people who are still maybe safe inside the rescuers are trying to get to. So Edith, that is the latest. We shall continue to keep you updated as soon as we get the information. We are, of course, toe to toe with the rescuers. A lot of agencies here on the ground: the National Disaster Operations Center, the Nairobi Fire Brigade, the National Youth Service, working with the county government, trying to make sure that they rescue the people who are trapped here inside, and of course trying to make sure there are no fatalities which come as a result of this. So that is what we have for you. Edith shall continue to give you the latest. Of course, the National Youth Service, as you can see in the shots behind me, just trying to weave their way through the rubble here. Of course, just trying to lift those bricks, the mortar, and trying to to make sure that they try to get to the people that are trapped inside, to make sure they get them off safely, as safe as possible. From what we had spoken to that official from the county, a county engineer, and he was saying that this is information that has not been ratified, has not been confirmed by the county government, but he was saying this particular building and the one next to it and the other one next behind to it, a 4-story building, have not been approved by the Nairobi County government. This is rather alarming. I mean, if a 5-story building can be completed and it was inhabited and another story was being built on top of it, and then there is information which we shall be confirming later that particular building was not approved by the county government, Kenyans will be worrying. It is a worrying trend. Of course, it has happened in the past, and the county government, formerly the Nairobi City Council, had said that they will look into that to make sure that it doesn't happen anymore, where buildings can be buildings can be constructed without being approved. Of course, it's unscrupulous businessmen, corruption in the county government. It has been mooted, but we are trying to get that information for you. So far, brothers, the rescue operation moving rather slowly from what was happening in the morning, because now they have done, I think, 2 floors from what we've gathered from the rescuers on the scene. They're now trying to work their way into some of the lower floors, where, of course, that is where the work is, because they have to lift the floors. They have to lift the mortar really carefully, because it's rather loose, and the metal that has been used in the construction of this particular building, it doesn't look strong as at all, and they are trying to work their way very carefully. A lot of work going on, a lot of National Youth Service officers here on the ground, and of course that is what's happened. So if that's the latest, we do not have any more new information as concerning the casualties resulting from this 5-story building that has collapsed here in Makongeni. We just have the 7 who were rescued earlier. 4 of them were taken to the Kenyatta National Hospital. Of course, we have our team members going there, of course, to follow up what's happening at the Kenyatta National Hospital. But we shall be speaking to the National Disaster Operations Center as well as the Kenya Red Cross to keep getting more details and more information. As soon as we get it, we shall be updating you. Back to you, Edith.
Well, thank you very much, Ben Kitili. He is our political editor, and he's currently in Makongeni, describing, from what you can see on your pictures, a very slow and meticulous process of trying to rescue those who are still trapped under that rubble of what was a 5-story building, with the construction of an additional floor happening as people were occupying it. Gentlemen, are we covering this story well so far? It's a fair enough question, Professor.
It's hard to tell when you're sitting on this other side, but I think it's very interesting. I mean, I've been looking at how Australia covered the hostage situation over the last few days.
Monday.
And it was very interesting how Rupert Murdoch, at the end of the day, was tweeting to congratulate Telegraph for having been breaking the stories more than every other paper. And according to other media houses, Telegraph was being responsible in terms of their coverage, and they pretty much came hard on Rupert Murdoch on his tweet congratulating the paper. I think it raises the question of social responsibility of the media. How can we? I mean, they had all these pictures that were being shown. In fact, Channel 7 had their camera straight into the restaurant where this thing was happening, but the sense of professional responsibility that reigned as they had it, but they didn't show it. They just thought, okay, let's have a global view of the circumstances that we're dealing with and see how we cover it. And I think one of the things that we should do well as media is just seeing how we compare the way we cover a story and how others do it. Our sense of social responsibility, our sense of somebody took me on here for saying patriotism, but our sense of feeling for our country as the events are unfolding. And so I think it's probably too early to be judgmental in terms of how the media is covering this story, how it's covering in Butere, 6 people are dead.
Yeah.
How they're covering the Butere story and all that. But I think overall, just a little bit to disagree with David. I think today is my day of disagreeing with David, of saying that our institutions, our media, let's be honest, this media market in Kenya is one of the best in the continent. I mean, our weaknesses notwithstanding, but our professionals execute their tasks with a lot of, compared with the rest of the region, compared with our continent, very well. And so even as we come hard on the media, it's just that we're saying that we can still do better. That if we look at how other people are executing the tasks, the responsibility of journalism, we probably look up to the very best. But in terms of how our individual professionals, the Claytons, the Clay Mugandas of this world, the David Ohitos, the Edith of this world, you're doing a fantastic job that we appreciate. It's just that because you're doing a good job, we have to continuously set the bar higher and higher for you guys to target higher. And so even the way that we're covering this story, how many African countries will actually bring you that story live from the scene? There are very few. And so you're actually comparing with some of the best, in my view.
Okay. Mine are 2 questions. Is it okay for us to compare ourselves against the worst and then be comfortable in knowing that we're the best among the worst, 1? And secondly, Malcolm X did famously say that the media is the most powerful entity on earth, because they have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's the power, because they control the minds of the masses. I see you articulating it. You know it very well. So, given that we have this power, what do we do to better the space that we're in, this democratic space that we claim to be in?
I think, yes, the media has that power, and the Kenyan media knows that. And that's why perhaps different politicians are equally interested in owning media. So what we just need to do is to reflect on it and think through social responsibility. And responsibility here is not covering the government when it is naked, or it's not coming up with falsehoods for the sake of making the country look sane. I would request at this moment in time that Nairobi County officials and national government officials should also be using the Australia Cafe siege to learn how officials behaved differently. So while the media is also learning on how to do this, and I pointed out that if you looked at Prime Minister Tony Abbott was able to speak to the media in less than the first 2 hours of the siege. And he clearly pointed out 8 senior security officers that would continuously field questions with the press, meaning that the press was not allowed to go on a speculative kind of process. There was verifiable information and in time. If we got to learn that, and I know that Kenyan media are very respectful, they take orders. We saw them being asked to retreat in Westgate, and they retreated. But when they waited for official government information, it never came, or if it came, it was not information you could believe yourself. So I want to take this opportunity and say, yes, it's a sad day. We have another building collapsing. We have those deaths. But as a country, we need to be reflective enough and draw lessons so that when we sincerely say this will not happen again, we put up preventive mechanisms to ensure that it doesn't happen again, as opposed to when now somebody else would point out, we will say they are playing politics. Because the collapse of buildings, the issue of police officers killing others and killing themselves, this insecurity, it's just too incessant that it's beginning to be the other name of Kenya, that this is going to happen. In terms of professionals, I think we are way above anybody in the region. We are a great nation. We are, a human resource is what Kenya sells globally. And therefore, we always need to put our threshold far higher. We cannot compare ourselves to Ugandans or Tanzanians or Ethiopians. We've always gone there to teach them from the early 60s. This is the time for us to say, we want to compare ourselves to those Australians. We want to compare ourselves to the Americans. Because again, we beat them in athletics and we never say we are a small country. So when it suits us and we beat them in rugby, we don't go into revision to say what the problems are. We just beat them. This is the time for professionals to up their ante, and I believe media is going to do this responsibly. There are mistakes that have happened, and I acknowledge I'm one of those who have criticized the media when they've fallen short on certain issues, but those are incidents. It's not like that's what the media is in the country. So when they publish one offending picture, it is just one, and they retract and deal with it professionally, that we do not need a law. Australia did not need to pass a law
for those guys not to cover.
For those guys not to cover. Because when you genuinely engage with people without always resorting to terror, that you are the state and therefore you have the instruments of violence, we will unleash them on you if you do not do this. It's very different. So it is time for us to think through that, and I feel sorry that there are bloggers, there are journalists that are still being attacked in a Kenya that we say is free and democratic. So that is a chilling thing. If you add on a bad law, then they can't do that investigative story in safety. They can't even think about their bread. They are hiding. So we need to come back as a country and say, this is not going to happen to professionals. We will allow them to discharge their mandate as they know best. We will guide them where we can, because it is only human nature that they will err at some point.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think that's a good place to wrap up this discussion. Thank you very much, gentlemen. My guest this morning, David Ohito, Digital Editor Standard Group, part of the Kenya Editors Guild. Henry Maina, who's the director of Article 19. Thank you very much for joining us. Professor Levi Obonyo, taking time away from his official duties as the Dean Communication at Daystar University, and Clay Muganda, who is still waiting to write his article for the Sunday Standard, where he works as an editor. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. We're not just about to take a short commercial break, but just in continuing with the breaking news that's on your screens right now, we do have some witness accounts, some survivors' accounts actually, of what exactly happened, and we're going to leave you listening to that as we prepare for our next interview, which is most glorious. The people in the studio right now, they look so wonderful, so colorful. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
Unasikia mchanga ikimwagika vile unasikianga. Mimi nikaamka haraka haraka. Nikaangalia juu nikaona hakuna crack. Unajua unaangalia floor. Unaona hakuna crack. Akizitabose ubaya unasikia tena hiyo mchanga na mwagi. Namwagika. Bio mimi nikaruka bio speed. Nikachukua hii kashuka, kafungua mlango, nikatoka mpaka nje huko. Nikakuta watu wengine huko. Nikawaambia hii nyumba nasikia kama inaenda. Na niambia si ndio hiyo. Haya, nikawaambia basi na tuite wale wako pale mbele. Ndio tukaongea, unaona Musa tunatoa hivi vitu naye. Anakaa hii nyumba ya mbele kwanza hapo. Tukamgonga. Mzee si utoke, mzee si utoke. Mzee kufungua mlango, haifunguki. Sasa tukaingia unajua imeshikilia chini juu, imejishindilia. Ndio tukamgongea akatoka. Dakika hiyo kutoka huyo, hiyo nyumba ndio hiyo.
At City Hall, what we've been doing since morning, we've been coordinating the exercise of rescue operation, calling our partners in trying to get access to the building so that we can expedite the process of rescuing. So far up to this moment, 7 we've been able to rescue about 7 people and have been taken to Kenyatta National Hospital. And we have more reports that the people were still trapped under the rubbles. We cannot at this particular point ascertain the accurate numbers of the people who are trapped under the rubbles, but it's estimated that there could be around another 5 to 6 people who are in communication with their relatives and friends. That means they're well, and we hope that the exercise will go well and we'll be able to rescue more people who are down there.